Hello and welcome to the World of Cruising podcast with Calum Brown and myself, Kaye Holland. Good to see you, Calum.
Likewise, good to be back, and I know we have loads to talk about and to cover in this week's podcast, but it's a first. It's a first ever. We are trying this remotely. So I'm in the north, where most of the cruise ships come to die, and everybody else is in the south.
Yeah, so it's the north-south divide. You and our special guest are up in Newcastle, and you've got producer Jonny and myself down here in London on Sea. So talking of introducing our guests, we do have producer Jonny Heather with us again today. Welcome, Jonny.
Hello, good to be here again. Nice to see you guys. How are you?
Not too bad. Missing the sunshine, but hopefully it will come one day.
Sounding
Absolutely.
better than you with your flu, good sir.
Well, yeah, I've just come back from Turkey, where it's been lovely 45 degrees. However, I have brought back every flu known to TUI transfer bus.
Okay, you stay remote. Don't come in the office anytime soon then.
You and your collection of 1920s diseases can just stay in the south, okay?
Agreed.
However, we have also been joined today by a very special guest, and that is our heritage expert, and that's Gillian Carmoodie.
Hello, nice to join you today. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're excited to have you, Jill. We've been reading your work for months now, so thanks for joining us. Right, shall we get started, everyone? It's been a busy few weeks. Well, I mean, when is it ever quiet in the cruise world, right? But let's have a little recap of what's happening and where the World of Cruising team have been the last couple of weeks or so. Take it away, Calum.
Okay, well, earlier this week, our sister publication, Cruise Trade News, hosted the Cruise Summit at the News UK offices in London. The third instalment of the Cruise Summit delivered an immersive exploration into the ever-changing cruise industry landscape. Wow, I sound so grown up. With a full day of keynotes, panel discussions and breakout sessions providing cruise lines, agents and suppliers with data and insightful takeaways. Not the kind of takeaways I enjoy. Mine usually have rice, but there we go.
And I have to say that all sounds fabulous, but when I've seen the pictures from the summit, which happened only earlier this week, you know what really caught my eye? It was those views from the News UK office. Did you see them?
They weren't pretty spectacular, but again, I couldn't quite spot where the Tartan Army were in that picture, so I kind of stopped paying attention.
Fair enough. But for listeners who aren't familiar with the News UK office, it's in London Bridge. The next door neighbour is the Shard. And if you sort of go high up, like to the 10th floor and above, you can literally just see every possible London landmark and icon. Really, really stunning.
But we digress, getting kind of caught up in the London aspect.
As usual.
It's okay. Back to the summit, and while speaking at the summit, Andy Harmer, Managing Director of CLIA UK, told the audience that sustainability efforts need accelerating, with the party that wins the general election on 4th of July needing to play a central role. Harmer pointed to access to alternative fuels and infrastructure and to onshore power as two key areas that the UK needs to focus on.
I think he was very on the money there, don't you? It's happening in Europe, but probably just not happening quick enough here in the UK. So, yeah, let's hope that does come into effect pretty soon. Summit aside, though, our consumer website and magazine World of Cruising also recently held the launch party for World of Cruising TV at the Mayfair Townhouse in central London. Calum, I don't believe you could make it either. I wasn't able to attend. So I think we're going to go to our producer, Jonny, for a report. Were you there, Jonny?
Well, actually, Kaye, I wasn't there, funnily enough. I was in Turkey. That was my excuse. I was still on holiday. Otherwise, I wouldn't have missed it for the world. But I heard from the team that it was a really, really good session, really good day. Lots of people meeting up and networking. Dean Wilson, the host, did a fantastic job of keeping everyone lighthearted and laughing along the way. And it will be coming to your screens on July the 1st.
Fantastic.
I mean, I missed it because I was dog sitting and on SEO duties in Newcastle, depending on which one I thought was the priority at the time, which isn't the best excuse, I know. But Kaye, I think you do have a valid excuse for not being there.
Yes, I have a much better excuse for you than you for not being there. My excuse is because I was actually away on a press trip on board Regent Seven Seas Grandeur, which is Regent's newest ship. And all I can say, Calum, Jonny, Jill, is the name is very fitting. Grandeur indeed.
You're not getting off with that. I am bringing in the producer Jonny and our special guest Gillian and her baseball bat because we need to grill you. You need to tell us more.
Absolutely. Tell us everything, Kaye.
Well, okay, fair play. I guess you could call it cruising for the 1%. So probably rules out most of us. I don't know. Regent just lives and breathes luxury. Best way I can really describe it: sort of small, all suite ships, really kind of akin to floating boutique hotels. Acres of marble, leather floors, and so much space. I was kind of worried, it might feel a little bit crowded, but no, it never felt crowded. So much space to stretch out, private balconies or around the pool. It was something special.
And everything is included, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was the price point is, as you'd expect, high. I think we touched on it on our debut episode on the podcast where we asked producer Jonny to guess the price of a Regent cruise. But you're not putting your hand in your pocket for anything else. So fine dining in all the specialty restaurants, the premium wines and spirits, spas, shore excursions, all that is included.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, Kaye, I absolutely love my food. So tell me a bit more about the restaurants on board.
We do know you love your food, and Jonny, I can tell you'd have been in your element. So I met this lovely guy called Les who was travelling solo, and he had a milestone birthday while on board, and his favourite restaurant was Chartreuse, which is Regent's French fine dining restaurant, and that was where he was choosing to celebrate this milestone birthday. But there's also so many other great eating options. I really enjoyed Compass Rose, which is Regent's signature dining room. Then there's daily specials, or you can kind of create your perfect dinner by pairing meat, fish and veggie options with any number of sides. For something more casual, there's an Italian restaurant, Sette Mari. That's this beautiful alfresco sort of dining setting, and that's perfectly cooked pasta and that kind of thing. You're a meat eater, aren't you, Jonny?
I am indeed. Well,
yeah.
I'm moving away from it, but I'm still very much a meat eater, yes.
Okay. Well, before you move away from it, Prime 7 is the restaurant to go to, one of the finest steakhouses at sea. It serves sort of brilliant cuts, just as you like them. And also, I'll touch a bit on this a bit later. Not only that, it's home to 3 Picassos. And then... Wow. One of my favourites, because I just love Asian cuisine, Pacific Rim. It's sort of this really delicate decor and this menu that brings together dishes from Thailand, Korea, Japan, China, and more. And actually got to speak to the maitre d' Alexandra. So let's hear a little from her.
It's Kaye from World of Cruising, coming to you from Seven Seas Grandeur. We're on board until Saturday, although you might have to drag me off. We're having such a fantastic time. Tonight we're having dinner at Pacific Rim, which is one of Regent's specialty restaurants. I'm joined by Alexandra, the maitre d' of Pacific Rim. Thanks for joining us, Alexandra. So this is a specialty restaurant, but it's included, isn't it, in the fare?
Yes, all our restaurants are included in the price, but you have to have a reservation in order to dine with us.
And do we have to book before the cruise? Can we book on the cruise? What do you recommend?
Absolutely, you can book it prior, maybe you have more options, but if you don't do that, we still have a reservation desk which will help you with that.
Okay.
They're open every day, so if you didn't do it already at home, you can do it on board as well.
Fantastic. What kind of cuisine can we expect? I'm quite a foodie. Do you like my food?
It's Pan-Asian cuisine, dishes, we sell dishes from all over Asia, but they have European touch. It's not typical Asian cuisine.
Okay, and you've got a favourite dish that I should try tonight?
You have to have lobster tempura.
Lobster tempura?
Yes.
I'm actually a vegetarian, not to throw a spanner in the works there.
Pad
Any
Thai.
veggie pad thai?
Amazing.
Do you love a pad thai?
I love pad thai.
And a drink? Any drink to pair with it?
Absolutely. Let's start with our welcome cocktail, and then we have a great selection of white wine which you can pair with pad thai.
Okay. Well, sounds great to me, so I'm going to wrap this up and I'm going to go and eat. Thanks, Alexandra.
Welcome.
A big thanks, as always, to maitre d' Alexandra for her insights there.
And Kaye, you mentioned 3 Picassos in there. I've been reading a lot about the ship's multi-million-dollar art collection.
Yes, you're right, Jill. It's known for its art collection. So there's also this stunning Fabergé egg. If you go to the World of Cruising socials, you can find some pictures there. It's crafted from 18K white gold, and it's sort of the first Fabergé egg that's full-time at sea. It's named Journey in Jewels, and that symbolises the 7 seas explored by Regent ships. Because also I should mention that Grandeur's godmother is Sarah Fabergé, who is the great-granddaughter of Peter Carl Fabergé and a founding member of the Fabergé Heritage Council. So, yeah, if you're an art aficionado, this is the ship for you.
I mean, 18k white gold just sounds like Milky Bar to me. But I mean, that sounds great enough as it is. But how much, considering that there's an all kind of hours Fabergé egg on board, is a Regent cruise going to cost me?
Callum, as the old adage goes, you know, if you have to ask, you can't afford it, can you? So, as I said, it's for the 1%. But, yeah, you probably can't afford it. But hopefully some of our listeners can. And if you know you want to set sail, but you don't have the budget of a footballer's wife, don't forget we have not one, but 2 fab competitions up for grabs.
We do. So let me introduce the first one to our lovely listeners. So if you're looking to set sail for a few days, mini cruises are always a great way to make the most out of a short period of time. And if you're a mini cruise fan, you'll love this competition. So we've joined forces with Galaxy Cruises to offer one lucky winner an unforgettable cruise for 2 to France and Belgium. So it's departing from Southampton on the 21st of September, and you'll be on board the rather luscious MSC Virtuosa. Your first port of call will be Cherbourg, and hopefully I have pronounced that correctly. Oh, you know, no offence intended. Then situated on the coast of Normandy, Cherbourg is just a short train journey from 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So if 3 Picassos isn't enough for you, then 3 World Heritage Sites might be. And next up, then you're off to Zeebrugge, the gateway to Chocolate Box Pretty Bruges, which is definitely one for the foodies. And then it's back to Southampton. And to be in with a chance of winning, simply visit worldofcruising.co.uk, click on the competition tab, and enter your details.
Is it that easy?
It is that easy, but also,
easy.
Guys, I have to we haven't just got one competition, we've got 2. So Callum just introduced, how many nights was your one, Callum? 3 nights? 2 nights?
2 nights.
2 nights.
No, I do beg your pardon, it's 3 nights.
3 nights. Okay, but if you've got a week to kill, a little bit longer, we're also offering you the chance to win a 7-night Mediterranean cruise with Princess Cruises. So this is on board Sun Princess, which is Princess Cruises' latest ship. Included in the prize, you've got flights for 2, 7 nights in a deluxe balcony stateroom with complimentary dining, a Princess Plus drinks package for 2, fitness classes, all your gratuities and Wi-Fi, that's all included. And this cruise departs on the 19th of April 2025. So sounds pretty good to me. And again, to enter, all you need to do is visit worldofcruising.co.uk, click on the competition tab and enter your details.
So that is the future that you're talking about, but I want to rewind to the past now, because there is some big news that's coming up. Well, big news that's broken, actually. So we're going to delve into our regular heritage section, seeing as we have such an eloquent guest here joining us.
I think we're spoilt because we've got yourself, Calum, our heritage editor, and we've also got another heritage expert on the podcast, Gillian Carmoodie. And Jonny and I wanted to talk to you both about SS United States. So it's the iconic ocean liner, and I believe it's facing a new challenge. And if anyone can give us the backstory, it's you two. So over to you guys.
Okay, well, I'm not going to take the limelight on this one because I sound like I'm drunk all the time. So I'm just going to say very quickly, the SS United States is currently in Philadelphia. She has been for the last 28 years at a pier run by Penn Warehousing. So there's been a bit of a court battle going on because Penn Warehousing clearly want rid of this fantastic ocean liner. It's not sailed since 1969, okay? She is a little bit dishevelled, but they've managed to work it in such a way the courts have made sure the ship has only 90 days in which to vacate and find a new home. But I'm going to pass over to Gillian now because she's going to hopefully explain better than I can why the ship is such a milestone and why it should be saved.
Okay.
Well, there are so many reasons. I'm actually astonished that she's in the condition that she is, given how, you know, if I was American, I'd think she was an icon of my country. I mean, she's massive for a start. She brought together lots of different elements when it came to design. So she looks like a cruise ship, but actually underneath she's kind of secretly a military ship. She was incredibly fast. Among maritime enthusiasts, many people will tell you she probably still is the true holder of the blue ribbon even now, because nobody beat her record. So she got it a while ago, and technically I guess she still has it.
She does, yeah.
Nobody took it back off her. And the reason she was so fast was she was built to, the American Navy partly paid quite a considerable sum actually towards her construction. So she was built to go into military action, so she could shift. She was really fast.
She was fast enough to strip the paint off her own bow.
She did. She stripped the paint off her own hull.
To put it into perspective, the Queen Mary II, Cunard's current flagship, has a top speed they reckon of about 30 knots. On the sea trials back in 1952, we're talking 70 odd years ago here, she was able to crack what they suspected was 42 knots. So if there had been an outbreak of war, this was going to be our secret weapon. So they all worship the Queen Mary, and rightfully they should, because she's the sexiest ocean liner of them all. But this is the Holy Grail. This is where military engineering, civilian prowess, style, and everything you could think of came together in the perfect package, just to show the attention to detail. The interior was completely flame retardant. So if I was to go in and deliberately try and set fire to something, carpets, curtains, furniture, people probably, they were all designed to smoulder rather than to burn. And if you want to talk about smouldering, people like Marilyn Monroe used this ship to come across the North Atlantic.
So high profile past guest then.
Oh yeah, except for Bill Clinton, he was apparently on it, but we won't talk about him too much.
He loves United States.
He does, but there's nothing smouldering about him at all. So
no, but she did have a remarkable safety record. I mean, the idea was you could not set her on fire. Her designer was fascinated all of his life, even back to his school days, with safety. He was fastidious about safety. He studied what happened to lots of other ships and kind of took lessons from those. So he learned from RMS Lusitania that a severe list could be just as dangerous. All very well having lots of lifeboats and people willing to launch them, but if the ship was at such a severe angle that those lifeboats could not be put out to sea, you still had a problem. So he came up with the idea that you'd have lifeboats on both sides and you would have double rows of lifeboats. So if you couldn't descend from one side, there was enough lifeboats on the other side that everybody could still leave. I mean,
that's a design
that had never been done before.
That's a design that's incorporated into modern ships to this day, actually.
Yeah.
So it was really, I guess, a beacon of American engineering.
Absolutely, which is why it's such an astounding mystery as to why she's been left since 1969, when she was very unceremoniously just halted. So there was cruises booked, people were waiting to get on board, and the ship it was cancelled because the government subsidies, the military side that was paying for it, dried up, because by the late 60s it was peace and love. It wasn't...
Well, and aeroplanes.
And aeroplanes
came along, that ruined it for many a cruise.
Aeroplanes ruined everything.
Shut up.
She wasn't financially viable, really.
No, she wasn't financially viable anymore, because we're talking here about something that would eat a gallon for every inch of ocean that had been travelled.
You got to pay for that speed with a lot of fuel.
And to bear in mind, the ship also cost, in the modern equivalent, $780 million. So it was a huge ship to run. And as such, when the money dried up, the ship just sat there. Her interiors were stripped out for auction. She was towed to Ukraine to have all her asbestos removed. And then ever since then, she's just been languishing in this Philadelphia dock. And now it's all come to a head. The Conservancy group, God bless them, have been trying for 14 years to do something with her. Nothing's happened. And now they've only got 90 days in which to have her removed.
Why is it so short? September the 12th, that's no time at all.
It's what the judge has decided to rule.
And that was actually fairer than kind of what was initially happening. I would say that's a slight improvement on where we were a few months ago, because Penn Warehousing wrote to the Conservancy and basically announced that their dock fee, their rent, was going to double from something like $800.
It was $750, and they upped it without consultation and defying the rental contract to $1,500 a day.
Absolutely, which was a massive shock. I mean, anything that you're renting, even if if it's an apartment, if suddenly your rent goes up by twice as much, you're going to notice. And I think there was also the thing that it was going to be backdated. So suddenly they owed, what was it?
800,000.
800,000, just because Penn Warehousing felt like it.
I mean, I get all this, guys, but it's a very limited window to find a new home for the United States, don't you think?
Well,
they've got to raise the resources necessary, how they're going to move the ship, how they're going to keep us safe. Sorry, I've got lots of questions.
Oh, and plus we could field them, but the thing to bear in mind is it's not like they haven't been making plans. So there are development plans you can view. They're on their website, and they're going to try and facilitate her somewhere like New York, where she's going to become their equivalent of the RMS Queen Mary. So a business centre, a hotel, somewhere you can get married. They're going to turn it into a museum. They just simply need some investment, which is a very geopolitical difficulty at the moment, because obviously they've got an election going on over there and all the stuff with a certain man who's in court, and the country's just kind of upside down. So,
well, all countries are upside down. We're all still recovering really from COVID, and cost of living and the economy is just crazy at the moment. If there was a worse time for a ship to suddenly need a lot of money, it's probably now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. But we just need to wait and see how that's going to go. So whether America saved their flagship or not is very much up for debate. So we will be covering it on the website. We already have. Gillian's got a massive opinion article about why the preservation of that ship is so important. And there's some rolling news coverage regarding the current fate. Whether she becomes a reef or tin cans is still up for very much fate to decide. But that's where we're at with that.
So watch this space and watch the World of Cruising website, which of course is worldofcruising.co.uk. Thanks both. Of course, I know it's not just the SS United States that has caught your eye, has it, in recent weeks? I believe you were both at the naming ceremony of the £479 million Queen Anne, Cunard's first new ship in 14 years, and that took place in Liverpool earlier in the month.
We were indeed, yes.
Oh, it was amazing, Kaye. It was just wow.
Gillian, I have to say, I've been lucky enough to see some of your photographs from the event, from the weekend. I kid you not, listeners, better than anything you've seen on the BBC. It's a bold boast, but it is a valid one. So come on, spill the beans, tell us all.
Well, I'll go first very quickly, and then I'll let Jo gush, because that's what she'll do about this. I don't believe there's ever been an event like this in Liverpool, certainly not in living memory, where, Cunard brought the world to Liverpool. So we had, I won't try to pronounce his name because he might sue me for getting it wrong, but we had that fantastic member of the original Three Tenors. He was there, which usually you would have to pay quite a considerable sum of money to see. And Cunard just brought him to Albert Docks, and anybody who wanted to go could. We had Craig Charles doing an incredible DJ set using the Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra. You have never heard Stevie Wonder or Disco Inferno or the Bee Gees played quite like it. It was incredible. And then on top of that, we had 5 solid minutes, because we timed it, of fireworks, where the ship had her name, and then when she was leaving at 10:15, the firework display was so intense that all of the main streets in Liverpool genuinely looked like a war zone. There was smoke everywhere. Yeah. But because it's Cunard, Liverpool just lapped it up. I mean, it is actually illegal to sound your car horn before 7 a.m. So 6:30 in the morning, when the Queen Anne arrived, her foghorn was sounded that can be heard for 10 miles, and the whole of Liverpool was woken up half an hour before the government says you're allowed to do that. But they just lapped it up. That's the way it was. But for one of us here, it was actually the first cruise ship that she got to see being named in person. So I'm going to pass over, because you've got some eloquent words you can say.
Well, first cruise ship that I ever saw in person. I mean, I guess one of the things with when you work in heritage is you're always looking back in the past. And so a lot of the ships that I'm smitten with, unfortunately, no longer exist. And the only way that I can really connect with them is through photographic archives or some past news footage. I'm always relying on what other people captured at the time. So it was a really interesting experience for me to be in Liverpool, what I think everybody there would regard as the home of Cunard, yes. and to see a Cunard ship for real for the first time. That was just It was spectacular. I think when you're a historian, you see places as they are now, but almost like having different layers. You see how they were back then. And so I knew that countless legendary cruise liners had been there before, and then there was a brand new one.
Yeah, it's kind of like living history.
Living
And
history.
for the city to come to a standstill like it did, bearing in mind this wasn't a Saturday, this was a
No,
Monday
it's a
night.
Monday.
It was a Monday
wasn't
night,
it?
and you would honestly
And
have
a
believed
wet,
there was a.
drizzly, grey Monday.
It was, and do you know something? It was like a carnival. There were people in costumes, dressed up. There were so many food vans. I only got to try about 80% of them. I think I had turned
How
from.
fantastic. I really admire that spirit. But I mean, you were both there, but I also read and saw that Spice Girl Mel C was there, Olympic athlete Katarina Johnson-Thompson, she was there, because they were both among the 5 women to represent Liverpool at the ceremony as the city was made the godparent of Queen Anne. I wondered if you guys could shed a little bit of light on that and how it reflects Cunard's relationship with Liverpool.
I think Cunard's relationship with Liverpool is, that's where Cunard was basically conceived. It was where it was birthed. And for Cunard to then go off around the world for all those years, we're talking hundreds of years here, and then bringing basically the finest back to Liverpool to showcase to the local Liverpudlians, that's one part of the relationship. But the biggest part, obviously, is celebrating Liverpool's heritage. And of course, all of the godmothers were from Liverpool, even if the only one that I really recognise, because I live under a rock most of the time, was Mel C. And of course,
I love Mel C.
When she was there dressed in that wonderful trouser suit that she had in Cunard red, it was very hard not to get distracted.
I had some girl envy, I have to admit.
Girl power, as it.
And it was I didn't realise that when a bottle of champagne or a bottle of bubbly was broken on the hull, it was so loud. I mean, we were 11 floors up on a building back from the waterfront, and it was so loud. I swear they must have had a microphone on that bottle.
Well, they probably did. But the thing to bear in mind when we say looking at those pictures, we were 11 stories up on possibly the world's wobbliest balcony, but just to make it extra dangerous for the pictures, Gillian was standing on top of a chair right by where there was no proper guard in order to get those pictures.
Okay, right. I think on that note, we'll leave it there. Don't need to know about Gillian's near-death experiences, but seriously, kudos to you both, and you're part of history, and what a fantastic experience that, you've shared with our listeners, and it will live on, I don't doubt, in your sort of hearts and memories too.
Of course it will.
Thanks for sharing.
There's also some content on the way where we have spoken to the people of Liverpool about what this ship launch meant to them, and for a lot of people like the restaurant owners and things, it genuinely meant turning a Monday night into Mardi Gras. So,
it was. The city was so busy.
It was alive.
So busy. It was wonderful, and I can't really imagine what it would be to be Liverpudlian and see that, because I'm not from Liverpool, and I just enjoyed it so much. I still believe I'm in Liverpool, even though we came back.
It's going to be an empty
experience going back. We didn't want Queen Anne to go. We actually ran after her, didn't we? Like, come back, don't leave.
Yeah, but she can kind of go faster than we can, so we looked very, very.
People were confused as to what we were doing.
We were confused as to what we were doing, but it's an experience nonetheless.
Amazing. Well, keep an eye on the website for full. Sorry, Jonny. Keep an eye on the website for more Queen Anne coverage. But sadly, that's a wrap for this week. A big thanks, as always, to our producer Jonny Heather and our heritage expert Gillian Carmoodie. Come back and see us soon, won't you, Jill?
I will do, absolutely.
Fantastic. And if you enjoyed this week's episode, please subscribe to the podcast via all good podcasting platforms.
And if you're on social media, why not give us a follow? We're on Twitter, or X as it's now known, courtesy of that giant space Karen that now owns it, Instagram and Facebook at World of Cruising. So thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.
Bye.